This is the book of Job, chapter 36, verse 8. It says, and if they be bound in fetters.
See, if they be bound in fetters. And what else?
And be holden in cords of affliction.
And what are the fetters that we're bound in? Or the cords of affliction that we're bound in? You know, it's these bodies. See, these bodies are weak. These are some weak fucking bodies, man. You shouldn't be able to. The other day, I was nailing something in the wall. The brothers were over. We were having class. And I was trying to push the fucking nail. You know, I was pushing it with the tip of my thumb, but somehow it split the nail. You know, so my fingers started bleeding. First thing I said, these are fucking weak bodies, man. That fucking nail should have fucking snapped and fucking flew across the room. Fucking whole cabinet should have came down, man. You know? But we're in these weak bodies. We don't have our strength. All right? We're not even as tall as we're supposed to be. We're not even as handsome as we're supposed to be. Our fucking hair falls out. All right, you fucking you get athlete foot. You get all kind of shit in these bodies, man. When these bodies are changed, we won't be subject to the things that we're going through now, man. And guess what? When the women of these other nations see that, they gonna run back to us. They gonna want to deal with us. They ain't gonna want to deal with their men. We're gonna have to make them deal with their men anyway, so that they can bring forth their nation back. You know? Go ahead. We're done with Jude. Yeah, because we kept not our first estate, so we fell. How did we keep our first estate? All right, by way of eating of that tree of good and evil, man. All right, eating of the philosophies of the other nations, consuming it with our mind. All right, following their ways and their customs. That's how we fell in the beginning. That was the transgression. All right, and it began with who? It began with Eve. All right, it begins with her ass, man. All right, and she took it and she taught it to her husband. All right, following the serpent, the same way that she's following the seed of the serpent today, which is Esau. Go ahead, Akia.
This is Genesis chapter 6 and 1. And it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and the daughters were born, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair.
Yeah, we saw that they was fine as hell. They were comely. You know, that they're fair. That means that they were looking good. And the same way that Solomon saw, you know, all of the women of those heathen nations, and he dealt with them. But the only problem was that Solomon, in his old age, all right, he began to worship, you know, the gods of the women. That's the only spot where he went off. In the kingdom of heaven, we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna get these women back again of these other nations. Go ahead.
It says, and they took them wives of all which they chose. And the Lord said,
yeah, which they weren't getting the ugly ones. you got the that TV series, The Witcher. In the beginning, you had old girl that was ugly as hell. She looked like a hermit and shit. But she did some witchcraft on her to make herself look good. That's what these women doing now. Putting on makeup, putting on fake ass hair, putting on eyelashes. Yeah, putting on the waist trainers, getting the fucking fat sucked out of their stomach and shot in their ass, man. And even the women of other nations are doing that, shooting their lips up with Botox. We ain't gonna get the ugly ones, man. We're gonna take the best looking ones. All right, the ones that are fine, man. Go ahead.
And the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh. Yet his days.
See? He also is flesh. All right? Flesh. Flesh is mortal. All right, we're about to be immortal.
Right.
Go ahead.
Yet his days shall be 120 years.
Now, when you link that up with the precept in the book of Psalms, what does it say? It says 70. And if by way of strength, 80. So a score is 20. So 80 would be 60. And 10, that's 70. But if by way of strength, then 80. So if you're strong, you'll live to be 80. But you got Jakes that's not living past 50. You got Jakes that are dying of strokes and heart attacks at 35, man. And a lot of it goes back to the diet. You don't follow the dietary law of the Bible. Do you think that you can consume and eat anything, but then when you end up with the ailments that you have, then now you want to run to Esau's hospital. Now you want to get a fucking stent put in your heart. All right, or you want blood thinner medication. When if you followed the word of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, then you wouldn't be subject to those things. The whole reason that we're in the state that we're in now is because we didn't keep his word. But there was a method to it. There's a reason behind that. Go ahead.
I looked into the word flesh, and one of the definitions there says flesh is frail or airy.
See, frail and airy. These bodies, these hearts go off. All right, and what is the penalty? Grab the book of Romans 6:23. I believe it's 6:23. The wages of sin. Yep. So the wages of sin is death. Go ahead, read when you got it.
This is Romans 6:23. For the wages of sin is death.
See, the wages of sin is death. So when we sin, the punishment is the things that we go through. If you commit adultery, you end up with gonorrhea or HIV, then guess what? That was a penalty for sinning. So therefore, what does that lead to? It leads to death. All right, when you follow the word of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, you won't end up in those predicaments or that situations. Although sometimes because you're mentally and physically weak, sometimes you end up in situations.
Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai B'Shem Horakakutash Barakatam. I just woke up and a little snippet of a dream came to mind. I wanted to share. Please excuse my voice shaking or so. In this dream, there was this like barn, like a horse stables, like a barn with a lot of horse compartments on each side, and there was some ruckus happening outside, a lot of commotion going on, and there was some people in there, and we heard like the doors busting, so we hid, and some troops was in there, and there was these 3 troops that grabbed me, and they were taking me inside a horse stable, like a little room. And I know they was gonna rape me. They was gonna rape me. And I was yelling and kicking and screaming. Because I wasn't okay with that, obviously. I was kicking and screaming. I was saying, no, Yahweh, help me. Yahweh, B'Shem Yahushai, help me. And next thing you know, Salakia. Next thing you know, a brother from a GMS camp showed up, and I don't want to say who, because I'm kind of shy. I don't know. I'm kind of bashful about it, so I'm gonna just say Nakim from a GMS camp showed up. Kid you not? He beat them all up like nothing. And right outside the little room, he was just standing there. And he just put his hand out like this, like trying to get me out of that room. And I just ran up ran up on him and I just hugged him. I said, the water Yahweh Shemel Shai. The water Yahweh Shemel Shai. And he was just smiling. And he said, God, Kala Yahweh Shemel Shai. Ba'ashem Rakakudash. When he was beating all of them up, it was like nothing. It was like nothing. I don't know. It just looked very like nothing. Superpowers are coming. I just wanted to share just a little quick dream. Thought it was spiritual.
Days ago, a very heavy dream dealing with spiritual power. Hey, spiritual power is coming real soon, baby. You know, and in the dream, I saw from three perspectives or 3 point of views. You know, I saw from 2/3 point of view, you know, which you, man, you Jake men, all right, you are so docile, and the only time that you're hard, the only time that you're hardcore and you about that life is when it's against your fellow brother, you know. But when it comes down to Esau, all right, when it comes down to, you know, the cops or somebody that, you know, this world teaches you that has authority over you, you couch down, man. All right, you couch down. All right, and you don't act hard. You don't act like thugs. All right, you cower out. You just a bunch of fucking cowards, man. But anyways, that was the first perspective or the first point of view. You know, I saw 2/3 niggas on the block. You know, hey, what does the scripture say? Like bulls in the net. I want to say that's the book of Isaiah. Isaiah 51:20. Thy sons have fainted. They lie at the heads of all the streets. As a wild bull in a net, they are full of the fury of Yahweh, the rebuke of thy power. You know, so they were hanging on a block, you know, and Esau came at them, you know, beating them, you know, and they wasn't doing nothing. They ain't say nothing back. I mean, the only one that said something was me, you know, within the dream that I had, you know, and then it kind of jumped. And then I saw Esau's perspective, and Esau was getting locked and loaded. All right, while you, Jake, saw celebrating holidays, while you celebrating birthdays. All right, while you're in the spirit of not letting any moment pass by you. All right, you're good timing it. All right, you in the spirit of mirth. All right, Esau is getting ready, man. They training. All right, I saw Esau gathering ammunition. He was gathering bows and arrows. All right, he was gathering everything to get ready, you know, because he was getting ready. All right, then I seen another perspective. I actually heard men outside praying and praising Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai. So in the dream, I'm like, that's where I need to be, you know. So I went outside, man, and I saw the spiritual power hit brothers like a wave. And, you know, by this time it was like dark, you know, and in the dream, it was like a very eerie feeling. You knew something was getting ready to come, you know, and I also seen in the dream, and before I get to the point of the spiritual powers, and I seen spiritual power hit brothers, there was an aspect in the dream where I saw people, there was like an outbreak, but it wasn't like an outbreak of, like a dis-ease. It was like an outbreak of rage, but it was like a plague, if that makes any sense. And it was affecting animal and beast. Now, I don't know if the animals in the dream actually represent people in like a brute or beastly state, but you can see the eyes, and the eyes look like the eyes of the animals that were infected, and the people that were affected. It looked like Venom, like the movie Venom, if that makes any sense, and I saw like a weird like horn, like an animal, and it was threshing through like another animal. You saw blood splattering everywhere. But then when you looked at people, they were doing the same thing. So that's the reason why I said, can these beasts in the dream represent actual people that are in like a brute or beastly mind state? So as that was going on, that's when, Esau was preparing. But then as I saw Esau preparing, I heard the, Akim outside praying. And by this time it was nighttime. So, how the wave is at a football game. When a person stands up and their hands go up, and then the next person next to them. And then when you're looking at it from a distant point of view, you can see it looked like a wave. When people throw their hands up, that's how the spiritual power was hitting brothers as they were praying to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. And I saw brothers' eyes light up like lamps of fire. If that makes any sense, like a light bulb. All right, that's how brothers' eyes were lighting up when they got hit with that power. And the scripture says, when you go to, and this is one of my favorite scriptures, when you go to the book of 1 John, the 3rd chapter, and beginning at verse 1, behold, what manner of love the Father hath bestowed upon us, that we should be called the sons of Yahweh. Therefore the world knoweth us not, because it knew him not. But the world is getting ready to know that we are the children of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai for sure, man. All right, they're going to know. Hey, starting right now, the scripture say, I will give you praise and fame in the place where you will put to shame. The time is coming when they're going to know that we are the children of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Especially when the standard is lifted up. When salvation comes, when Yahushai comes and gather the elect, they're going to know. When spiritual power hits men, they're going to know. Reading on. It says, beloved, now are we the sons of Yahweh, and it doth not yet appear what we shall be. But we know that when he shall appear, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. So we're going to be like Yahushai. All right. When he returns, we going to get them glorified bodies, man. We're going to have true power. We're going to have real power. We're going to have glorified bodies. And just to grab this, because it says that we shall be like him, all right, and we shall see him as he is. Daniel, the beloved Daniel, saw Yahushua glorified in his glorified state. And he recorded it within Daniel's the 10th chapter, and beginning at verse 5. It says, then I lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with the gold of Uphaz, fine gold of Uphaz. His body was like the beryl, and his face was as the appearance of lightning. Why? Because the scriptures say wisdom maketh a man's face to shine, and his eyes as a lamp of fire, and his arms and his feet like the color of polished brass, and the voice of his words like the voice of a multitude. Now, when I read this scripture, I like to exaggerate it. I like to think of it, in a picture form, and imagine it, so I imagine seeing Yahushai, in his glorified state, and his eyes glowing up like an orb of light, real bright, and I speak as a man, but I believe that when spiritual power hit brothers, hey, that could happen to them as well, especially when they're changed. So those are a few scriptures that came to mind based off of the dream that Yahweh Bashim Yahushua blessed me with. Hey, Yahweh Bashim Yahushua is getting ready to lift up a standard. All right, when the enemy comes in like a flood,